say is, take me out of the ball game. I can't believe you struck out. That ball was way outside the zone. Way outside. There's 10-year-old me sitting at the end of the bench in the dugout. I'm hyperventilating and crying as my father's sweat and spit drip on my cleats. I'm tired of you embarrassing yourself. We're going to have to work on this when we get home. I look down, kicking a discarded Coke can into a pile of cigarette butts. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Are you even listening? And thus I'm reminded again of why I hate sports. It's not the gaudy showcase of brawn or the ostentatious competitiveness. It's my damn stage mom of a father. For a decade of my life, I was a slave to my dad, the baseball dime in my plantation. There he forced me to dive after grounders and scramble below pop flies in spite of my obvious disinterest. Whereas my classmates talked about eventually going pro, I revealed my desires to be a zookeeper. I would have preferred my father treat baseball like boarding school, dropping me off in the spring and picking me up in the summer. But he wanted to be in the game, so he pronounced himself assistant coach, a title he would hold throughout my baseball career. There obviously aren't strict criteria for assistant baseball coaches. My father had the body of a hippopotamus, the temperament of a rabid raccoon, and the patience of a grease fire. In an effort to stave off my father's wrath, I became a halfway decent player. Taking this as a testament of his good parenting, my father pushed me even harder. And whereas lesser masochists would have quit, to me that was not an option. I still recall the humiliation I had to endure from when I quit soccer. If you're gonna be a quitter, Keith, you have to tell everyone, my father had said. Now I'm gonna drive you to soccer practice so you can look your entire team in the eye and tell them to their faces that you're a quitter. He actually, I was like 6 and he did that. My father had his own way of welcoming me to manhood. One day he burst into my bedroom and announced, "We need to get you a cup and a jockstrap." I found it strange that my father's mind was on my testicles, but to the sports store we went. There we picked out what I felt was a reasonably sized cup. It turned out to be an extra large. The sight of a 13-year-old with a bulge the size of an avocado invited many double takes. I enjoyed wearing the cup and jockstrap. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Although it was meant as a utilitarian device, I saw it more as lingerie. As I geared up in the bathroom before a game, I'd become fixated with how I looked in it, almost breaking my back trying to sneak a peek at my own butt. Inevitably, I'd get a knock on the bathroom door. "Are you almost done?" one of my siblings would scream. "What's taking so long? Are you playing with yourself?" Embarrassed, I'd immediately stop playing with myself. It was also around this time that I began having dreams about boys I knew. These were sexual dreams, and because my subconscious lacks any imagination, they'd usually take place in a locker room. At this point, I'd never seen pornography, so the mechanics of gay sex were as foreign to me as the mechanics of a combustible engine. Instead, my dreams played out like bizarre after-school specials. There I'd be after practice or PE, removing my shirt. A teammate would enter. "Oh, hey Kevin," I'd say casually. Kevin would give me a sideways glance, then remove his shirt. "Hey Keith," he'd say, his shirt accidentally brushing my bare side. I'd look at him directly. He'd look at me. Our eyes would lock, and then we'd embrace. And that was it. We just stood there, hugging, shirtless. My father continued to stay on message, never letting an opportunity to pass to remind me how disappointing I was or how much I was embarrassing myself. And I believed him because he was my father. He became a voice inside my head which had to fight for mental space with the other voice, the one that made me lust for Sam from Clarissa Explains It All. But my father's voice was stronger. It made me hate the other voice. It made me fear the other voice. It gave that other voice a wedgie and shoved it into a locker. But still, that other voice persisted. One day, on the way to a game, Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody came on the radio. As my father and I snaked our way through the parking lot, that other voice decided to speak up. Freddie was singing about how sometimes he wished he'd never been born at all, and I could relate. My life up to that point had felt pretty miserable. In fact, it didn't feel like it was my life to live. And with every game day, I inched closer to a nervous breakdown, which is perhaps acceptable if you're an adult. I was 14. Dad, was Freddie Mercury gay? I asked. As if anticipating the question, my father abruptly answered, "That guy was into all kinds of things. He'd sleep with anything and anybody." "Even goats?" I asked, temptingly. "Probably. Goats, sheep, you name it," my dad said. "Oh, there's the team." He was more than happy to drop the conversation. I could tell we were skirting dangerously close to a topic he didn't want to broach. That game, I played right field. I saw it as an opportunity to stand in the grass and think. So I thought about how much I hated baseball, and how much I loved Freddie Mercury. And then I thought about Freddie Mercury having sex with a goat. High school was approaching, and that would mean the end of baseball for me. Once you reached that age, you either played for the school or you didn't play at all. I was almost in the clear, just a couple more seasons to go. Still, the thought of playing any more depressed me. In 10 years' time, baseball had failed to provide me with anything positive. I could not call one teammate a friend. In fact, my only friend at all was a 7-foot-tall classmate with rosacea and a speech impediment. I was not physically fit. My sister joked that I was a bra size. And I could care less about teamwork, preferring instead to lock myself in my room and read Spider-Man comics. So one morning, on the day of a big game, I moped into my parents' bedroom and woke up my father. "Dad, I want to quit." 100 hands released their grip around my heart. I felt on a high. Harps played in my head. "You don't want to be a quitter, Keith," my father said matter-of-factly. "No yelling, no fist-pounding or snarling or spitting." It was curiously out of character. I knew what I wanted to say in response. "Oh, but I do, Dad. I do want to be a quitter. Because you see, it's not worth it. It's not worth the self-torment and the depression. It's not worth proving myself to you. It's not worth the vain efforts to provoke you into saying, 'I'm proud of you,' or 'I love you.' It's not worth hating who I am any longer." But I didn't say any of this, because I knew saying it would terminate any shred of a relationship my father and I had, even if it was a deeply dysfunctional one. I still valued his attention, and I still dreaded disappointing him. And maybe I also thought abandoning him would mean the other part of me, the part I tried desperately to suppress, would consume me. "No, I guess I don't want to be a quitter," I said. Game on. I've told my father about how difficult those years were for me, about how much I hated playing baseball, fearing game days the same way a dog fears an approaching thunderstorm. But he denies it, claiming that I love the sport. "Why else would you play for so long?" he asks. And I just dropped the subject. It's too much of a loaded topic for both of us. In the end, I know that no matter how afraid I was to take the field, my father's fear of my homosexuality paled in comparison. Now, when I pass a park and see a father and son playing catch, I always want to interrupt, pull the boy aside, and ask, "Are you doing this for the love of the game, or for the love of your father?" Thank you.